Hello, and welcome to Slayer Shock. Slayer Shock is a game I was talking about in my Neurovoider video. One that I wasn't super looking forward to playing, but I think that deserves to be shown off. So as you might have gathered, in Slayer Shock, our mission is to hunt vampires. In fact, Slayer Shock is straight up Buffy. It bills itself as a procedural Buffy the Vampire Slayer slay 'em up. And it's alright at doing so. So in this tutorial level we just learn about how to turn our flashlight on, how to attack, how to heal, basic stuff. We also meet our first boss, Count Slater. Who went somewhere. Count Slater? And once we beat him, we are dropped into our home base, the coffee shop. So like any good Buffy, we have our crew of Scoobies here to help us out. We have our mentor, our researcher, and our weaponsmith. Weaponsmith, who actually has a nail gun for us, which we are going to grab, and we are going to buy some nails for. We can also customize our Buffy. Let's get some red nails, blue nails. Bit of a mid-range in skin, it's pretty good. It's pretty good Buffy. Our mentor, we can buy upgrades from him, although we don't have enough money for that yet. And the core of the game comes down to this. This is our campaign map where we can select which mission we will perform. It will tell us the mission type, the threat level, and the rewards we will get for doing it. So it looks like this one will give us a shotgun. So let's do that. This is a hunt type mission. We have to find and defeat elite type vampires. Currently we are only armed with a stake, as we saw in the tutorial, and our brand new nail gun, which is terrible, like every ranged weapon in this game. It will one-shot minions if you hit them in the head. Body shots will take a bit more. Minions, by the way, are our basic enemy type. We'll be seeing them the most. Our second basic enemy type is the elite. Minions do not drop dust, but elites do. Dust is basically our currency. So the more dust we have, the better position we'll be in. You also notice the objective at the top right along with the mini-map. All of our targets will show up on the mini-map. Looks like they're pretty close. This is a pretty small level. Levels are, of course, procedurally generated. Oh, here's a special enemy type. That's the Harrow. He throws fireballs. He also teleports, making him sort of difficult to deal with. It's rare to see him in a low-threat area. But now that we got all our stuff done, we can head back to the hub. And we can buy our first upgrade from our mentor, which is going to be Dampier's Curse, which will heal us when we pick up Vampire Ash. It's pretty useful. Unfortunately, we don't have enough to buy anything from our researcher. But we can pick up the shotgun, which fires salt. So now we move on to the second episode. The game is divided into episodes. Every mission is an episode. Once you complete all the episodes, you've completed a season. So it's set up very much like a TV structure, which is kind of neat. And the goal of every season is to find the big bad or big bads and to murder them. One of the reasons I wanted to show this game off is that, well, I don't think it delivers well on the concept. I think it's very interesting to try and model a game off of a television show, especially a procedurally generated game. And one of the reasons I actually bought this game is because I read a developer blog post about the research that went into trying to make a procedurally generated TV narrative and TV baddies and stuff like that. And apparently, the writer for the game spent a lot of time and drew a lot of inspiration from professional wrestling. He would observe the gimmicks. He observed how each wrestler had gimmicks and applied those to enemies, as well as the soap opera-ish aspects. And there's a whole blog post about it that I will probably post in the thread. But I just think it's interesting that a dude sat down and watched like 20 hours of professional wrestling so that he could make his Buffy the Vampire Slayer game. Also, you notice I'm healing for the dust I pick up now. And you'll also probably notice the mission type is to destroy the glowing coffins. This game also, by the way, has probably the worst lockpicking minigame I've ever played. It's based a lot off sound, and it just doesn't seem to work very well. Like, everything makes sound, and it's hard to tell which is the right sound. Maybe I'm just bad at it, but I'm not a fan. So let's hit up these last two. You also notice there's a lot of extra buildings around that don't have objectives in them. Sometimes they have treasure chests filled with dust or ammo. Other times they just have enemies in them. And there can be some pretty nasty enemies in this game, so I generally just try to go for the objectives. Also, if you don't feel like picking locks, you just do this. So you got quite a bit of dust for that. You'll also notice that every time I finish a level, the threat level will increase for other areas. The threat level goes from 0 to 5. After it passes 5, the area is lost. Although, once you hit 4 and 5, you might as well stay out of there, especially if you're in the first season, because enemies get really hard. But now that we have a bit more dust, let's invest in our researcher. We're going to discover who the big bads are, which is the first step toward completing a season. And we're also going to unlock Sneak Attack, which will deal more damage to unaware enemies. It's not very good, but it's a stepping stone to ability that's much better. And then we'll hit the campaign map again. So generally you want to do things that have higher threat levels, because once you complete an area, the threat level will go down, although you can take into account your rewards for each area. I'm going to go with the woods. So this is a ritual type mission. They're one of the harder ones. You have to deal with harrows. And if I find anyone, I can show off what our shotgun does. Ranged weapons are not very good in this game, but we can at least give it a shot. Gun, if you know what I'm talking about. Huh? Huh? So it looks like a cave has been generated. There are occasionally caves that get generated in the woods area. Not that special, but it's the one interesting thing about the area, other than it being dark most of the time. Shotgun is not too bad. We'll see how it holds up against harrows, though. So once we hit this, we'll meet some new friends. That's not terrible. That's actually better than the steak right now. Of course, you actually have to aim, which I'm not too good at. And there should be... Yep, here he is. So it looks like we got everything, so we can get out of here. Also, whenever you get back to the cafe, sometimes random events will happen, such as that. So our research is still in progress, but we do have enough to buy our next upgrade, which is going to be an extra bandage right now. We're pretty fragile in the beginning, so it's always good to have extra health. You know what, let's change our nails a bit. Let's go... I'm liking green. And actually, I don't think we might have enough money to afford our new weapon. So we pick up the water blaster, let's equip that. And let's buy a tank of holy water. And we will hit up Lancaster State. Steal missions are, you find the object, you take it, and that's about it. So I do want to talk a bit more about threat levels. Threat levels also will spawn more unique monster types, and all monster types will have more health. Also, the holy water tank, not too good. You also notice there's an optional objective sometimes to avoid detection. That's really hard in this game. I don't think the stealth system works quite as it was probably intended to. It is possible to do, but first of all, it'll take a very long time. And second of all, there's a lot of wide open areas in this game where enemies will see you from just a long way away. And in general, I've pretty much never had success with stealth, so I kind of just avoid it. Unless I'm going for extra damage. But as an objective, it's not going to happen. You can also force pins, but that will spawn a bunch of enemies around you. And is generally not a great idea. Although I might run out of patience pretty soon. Arrows are a problem. But having that extra bandages is going to come in handy. Also, shove is pretty overpowered. Shove everything. These are vines. They are the most dangerous thing in Nebraska. They appear all over the place, and they deal 30 damage when you walk over them, which is a lot. So I think ranged weapons are supposed to have a good trade-off where they do bad damage, but you can hit enemies from far away. But the thing is that most enemies who aren't minions have an actual long-range attack of their own, which does a lot more damage, so it doesn't really balance out well. Nothing really attacks faster than the stake, and nothing will do more damage. So it looks like Countess Marion is our big bad. And somebody's poisoned the watering hole. Now we have a choice. We can investigate the weakness of the big bad, we can track their movement, or we can try to locate their nest. Locating the nest will end the season, but I don't have quite enough dust right now, so let's just investigate weaknesses. I'm also kind of broke, so I can't really buy anything else. I am, however... Actually, Foam Dart Blaster's new. Let's show that off. It's also pretty bad. Shouldn't come as a surprise at this point. We've done pretty good at keeping the threats down. Old Town's looking not so great. I'm thinking we want to hit up Grayside. This is what I mean when I say levels have a lot of wide open spaces for you to be spotted in. There are very few levels that are cramped and small. Foam Blaster fires real fast, but it does very little damage. So let's go back to the old stake for now. It also doesn't help that I have my volume down really low because I'm recording stuff. Also, one thing to know about threat levels is as the threat goes up, your objectives become more numerous. And by that I mean, right now I have to steal 3 relics. If the threat was 4 or 5, I would have to steal maybe 4 or 5 relics instead of 3. Huh? Alright, I'm just gonna start popping pins. Yeah, that's what happens when you force locks. It's generally not a great idea. Did get more dust out of it though. And a harrow. So yeah, not worth it. Just gotta find out where he went. Huh? Let's go slow this time. That's not great. We kind of need our weaponsmith. So we got 1 day left on the research. I could buy upgrade for our stake, but I'm gonna save that for later because I want to be able to buy the next research item as soon as it becomes available.